Hi everyone, it's Belinda Weaver here. This is my regular Periscope. I'm talking about copywriting, being a copywriter, and word nerd stuff. And today I'm going to be talking about how to get a spectacular copywriting brief. So let me get straight into the good stuff today. So as I said, I'm going to be talking about how to get a spectacular copywriting brief and what to do if your copywriting clients claim that they don't have time. As I said, that does happen. Dixie Press, thanks for joining in. So firstly, let's just quickly cover what is a copywriting brief. A copywriting brief is the detail about the project you get before you start writing. It has all the information that you need to know about a business in order to complete the project. So it usually has information about the business, their history, stuff like that. You usually start talking about the features and benefits of the product or the service that you're writing about. You talk about things like the brand personality, the tone of voice that the copy needs, what's unique about the business. These are all the things that you need to know as a copywriter if you're going to write really great copy. So the copywriting brief is everything you need to know before you start. Now you might add to that with your own research, of course you should, but the copywriting brief is the foundation of a good copywriting project. I have found, without fail, a bad copywriting brief usually leads to a bad project. Not bad copy necessarily, because I'm awesome. But usually you haven't got a good understanding of what the client wants, and that is what the copywriting brief is all about. Thanks very much for joining in on the Periscope. I can see your little names pop up, so feel free to say hi in the comments. So when do you need a copywriting brief? You need it at the start of the project. I would often provide a proposal or a quote before I would spend time going through the copywriting brief, but I would still make sure I had a good understanding of what was required on the project. But you need the copywriting brief before you start writing. And you need to make sure the copywriting brief is approved by the clients, because if your project goes tits up for whatever reason, they really hate the copy, you always have to go back to the brief and step through it saying, this is what you told me, is that still correct? So it's really important that you get a lot of detail in the copywriting brief and that you get it approved in writing. Really, really important. So how do you take this spectacular copywriting brief? Because you have to remember, of course, if you send your clients a form, they've hired you to write copy for them, which means they're saying that they're not that great, or they don't have time maybe, but they're not that great at expressing what they need in the written form. So asking them to write out this massive long form is kind of a bit counterproductive. Without fail, I rarely got an awesome, super complete brief back from people, simply because that wasn't where their skill lay. So, what you have to then do is guide them through it. What I would do, and I recommend you do, is send a copywriting brief form to your clients so they at least have an idea of the questions that they should have answers for. Because some of these are really big questions. Why are you unique? Why would customers choose you? Tell me about the personality of your brand. They're big marketing questions, and more often than not, businesses haven't really thought about them for any extended period of time. So you want to give them a heads up. I would send them the copywriting brief form so they can have a crack at it, have a time to think about the answers, and then I would always schedule a time to talk it through, because this is where you get to draw out the detail. This is actually the key to getting a spectacular copywriting brief, because then you can say, tell me more about why you chose these words to describe your brand, or can you tell me more about what happens after a customer engages you for your services? How often do you meet? You can really get them to step through each step of how they provide their products and services. Thanks very much. Robbie says, great strategy, and thanks for the hearts there. Don't think I didn't notice. You're awesome. So as I said, you want to send them the form so they have a heads up and they can have a crack at it, but don't expect too much, because then you want to talk it through them. You want to ask them maybe the same questions in different ways. And generally speaking, I find that once people start talking about their business, they relax And that's when you start getting the gold. You can also hear how they talk about their business in their own words. And that can be extremely useful when it comes to copywriting, because you can weave some of their own language in to the copy you're writing. And that also helps them take ownership of their words, because in part they are their own words. So send them the form, talk them through it. That is really the heart of getting a spectacular brief. Yes, it's time consuming, but is it worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely. And as I said, once you take the brief and you add all of the extra notes that you're taking, thanks Dixie Press, good advice. I'm glad. So, you're talking to them, you're adding notes. For me, I'm typing furiously. Sometimes I would record the calls as well. You should let people know if you're doing that, and then send it back to them and make sure they approve it, because all these little approval milestones in your copywriting project will help you keep it on track, help you make sure that you're going to deliver what it is the clients actually want, and that's the point. Now, what do you do if a client says that they don't have time to do a copywriting brief? Now, the reason I've added this is because one of my copywriting masterclass students asked me this question. She's working on a project right now. Small business owner says, I don't have time to answer all these questions. Just go and write the copy. Okay, red flag, red flag, red flag. That is a huge red flag that this is going to be a Peter client, a pain in the beep client. Exactly. Robbie says, lose the client, walk away, run as fast as you can, actually. Because if they don't have time to invest, copywriting is a partnership, right? You need the information from the business so that you can write excellent copy. They need to invest the time in making sure you have all the information you need to write the best copy you possibly can. So every time I have had a crappy brief, and I don't mean had a crappy brief like they've given me a crappy brief, but I have accepted a crappy brief and not taken the time to get more information when I thought I've needed it, the project has gone terribly. I've written the first draft, the client's gone, I hate it, and it's just been more time consuming, more revisions if we've even got that far. Now, I'm grateful that that has only happened once or twice in my copywriting career, but and Robbie says they always hate what you write. Exactly. And they always hate it because you didn't have a clear direction on what it is you were supposed to do. It doesn't necessarily mean the copywriting's bad. And the analogy here is you don't ask a builder to build a house with no requirements. How many bedrooms? How many living rooms? How many bathrooms? What's the roof made of? What's the building made of? All these are the details that make up the brief for the builder. And it's exactly the same for your copywriting. Robbie says they always want their money back too. Cheeky buggers, is so right. So if a client does not have time to give you the information in a copywriting brief, that's time to nip the project in the bud and walk away. Now, you can persuade them on why it is important, and more often than not, you will persuade them and they'll spend the time on the brief, which is really well spent. But if they won't, walk away. As I said, if they don't have time for the brief, then they won't have time to review your copy, they won't have time to give you revisions, and more often than not, they won't have time to pay your invoices mysteriously. So no brief is like asking a builder to build a beautiful house with no direction and no plans. So that is the secret of getting a spectacular copywriting brief from your clients. Just to recap, a copywriting brief is all the information you need in order to write exceptional copy. It's information about the business and information about the project. Why do you need it at the start of the project, and you need it because that's the foundation of your copywriting, which you build on with research. And you always need to get the copywriting brief approved by the client. And the final tip was, if they don't have time to fill out the brief and let you talk it through with them, then that's a big red flag. Robbie says, always a good idea to make people pay up front to avoid tire kickers. That's right. And that's why a deposit, a 50% deposit, is essential. And remember, the key to getting a spectacular copyright brief is talking it through them. Remember that people who are hiring you to write the words for them aren't always going to be brilliant at writing the words at the beginning. So make the time, invest the time in getting a spectacular copywriting brief, and you're giving yourself a fantastic chance to write spectacular copy. So that was me just talking. I appreciate the hearts. If you like what you've heard, you can tap the screen and hearts come up, and it's just a little bit of great feedback. You can share. Oh, thank you. Thank you for those hearts. Thank you, Robbie says awesome advice. You can also share the Periscope on Twitter. And you know what? If you miss these, because I'm here at this time every week, I actually record them and put them on the YouTube. If you search on YouTube for Copyright Matters TV, you can watch all the previous Periscopes I've done. It's my pleasure, Dixie Press. Thanks for the hearts. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Robbie, for sharing this on Twitter. You can still hit the little dude in the corner, share it now, or share it later, and people can watch the replay. I think, well, I hope it's some good tips for everyone. So enjoy your Friday or your Thursday. Enjoy your weekend. Stay awesome, and I'll see you next week.